And Robert says only voters of the town of Sandgate can speak. I knew that wasn't going to go over well.
Power and authority are my middle name. And if I can lord it over 120 people, it's much better than lording it over any member of my family.
I really enjoyed the task and the position, and which I think surprises some people. A lot of people come and say, why are you doing this? I can't imagine doing this.
You can't very well hold a town meeting where you're doing the town's business if it's going to be WrestleMania 10.
It's still important to them, and it's important to the process too, for people to get together and talk to each other.
The first couple of years, I probably knew 95% of the people personally. This past year, if I knew half.
And so he keeps on continuing, being more adamant. What he doesn't know, and the rest of the room knows, is that Harold Beebe was sitting next to me.
Turned to the camera and I said, for those of you who are at home, get out here to the municipal meeting and be a part of democracy in action.
With only United States Postal Service postmark accepted as proof of payment date. What's your pleasure regarding Article 4? Moved by Carl Noiza. Is there a second to the motion? Steve Terry seconds. Any discussion on Article 4? Yes, Mark Mooney.
Yes, I hope this doesn't preclude proof of payment by personal payment at the treasurer's office. But it says only U.S. I'm sure that wasn't the intent, but it
paying in person is fine.
That if someone brought their check to the treasurer's office and received a receipt with the date on it, I assume that would hopefully be accepted as proof of payment.
Hope so. I'm planning to do that when I vote tomorrow, Mark. So I think I heard Chairman Tenney assure us that personal payment is still a valid way to remit our taxes.
Well, when I was Secretary of State in the 1980s, I was dispensing advice to a lot of municipal officials, including town moderators, on how to conduct town meetings and fulfill other responsibilities of local government. And I thought, gosh, it'd be great to have some practical experience. A longtime moderator of Middlebury moved out of town. He'd been there about 16 years, and so I talked with some local folks and decided to seek the job myself. And now I've been at it for nearly twice as long as he did it. I think it's important to remember that the job of the moderator is that of traffic cop. Moderator is a position, interestingly, that the law does not require an oath of office because there's no authority. It's simply guiding the discussion and bringing the will of the people to a decision point on each article. So there's no power there. It's just a matter of facilitating the will of the people of the community. And I think it's important for moderators not to be dictators, to be facilitators, to be firm when they have to be in order to maintain order, but to remember that their responsibility is to ensure that the will of the majority prevails. It's important to be fair to everyone and every point of view. When we've had contentious issues in Middlebury, I've asked people on one side to line up at one microphone and those on the other side at another, and then I would alternate speakers so that there's an equal opportunity for both sides. So I think remembering to be fair, inclusive, and not too domineering are the key points that I would suggest to a new moderator. You know, the town meeting system is unique to New England, almost. There are actually some communities in Oklahoma that have it because I helped them write their law 20 or 30 years ago. But it's something that's quite uncommon for people in other parts of the country. I used to invite my fellow secretaries of state to come every March and sit in on some town meetings, and they pretended to think it was a great idea, but I'm not sure I really believed them because it's such direct democracy. It's involvement by the citizenry that's not what they're used to in other parts of the country. So I think the fun part about town meeting is understanding the historical significance of the institution, the fact that everybody gets to be a legislator for a day can directly affect the outcome of decisions in his or her community, and to an extent decide how much everybody's tax bill is. So it's the kind of direct democracy that has really been a hallmark of Vermont government for 2.5 centuries, and I certainly hope it's something we can continue. You know, town meeting has been evolving over time. In the old days, before we had municipal officials, everybody got together frequently to make any decision that had to be made about town government. And after a while that became onerous, and they began to select men to handle responsibilities between town meetings, and eventually we evolved into a system of local elected and appointed officials and annual and other occasional municipal meetings. And in some places, our cities, it has evolved further into a council form of government without direct democracy except through the Australian ballot. In the town of Brattleboro, they've elected to move to a representative town meeting system similar to that in other parts of New England. So I think town meeting has evolved and perhaps will continue to in one way or another. It's hard to predict the future, as Yogi Berra said, but I think I see a lack of participation that is troubling. The average participation in town meeting is quite low. People of our communities find that they're busy, they're away, they're working out of town, they don't regard it as an important part of their lives, and if not as many folks are going to be actively involved, then I think it's fair to ask whether it's going to continue to be the vibrant institution that it is today. It could be we get to a bifurcated system at some point in the future. Very small towns continuing to have the town meeting system where it is practical for a large percentage of their voters to come together, but something different in larger municipalities. More towns may elect the Brattleboro option, for example, or something that we haven't even thought of. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if over the next half century or century we'll see further evolution of this institution.
And lastly, if I'm not wrong, this will be our last town meeting in this lovely facility here. And I'm not sure whether the right thing to do is to have a chorus of Auld Lang Syne, to rip off another piece of the sort of decaying infrastructure as we leave, or what. But I'm looking forward to meeting elsewhere next year.
Perhaps the town will be selling pieces of the parquet floor or raise some money. Any other questions on the ballot items? Anything else? Any other discussion?
I remember the first year that the Middlebury town meeting was carried on our local cable access station. I was concerned about whether people would choose to come down to the municipal auditorium or sit in the comfort of their homes with popcorn and beverages and watch it on TV. And so I turned to the camera and I said, for those of you who are at home, get out here to the municipal meeting and be a part of democracy in action. And people saw me on the street the next day and looked embarrassed and said they appreciated the warning, but I don't think they actually came. So I think in a way it allows people to participate passively, as if they were just sitting in the back of the hall and not speaking out on motions or engaging in debate. It's a more convenient way if they're not direct participants as an active voter or municipal official. And something's lost there. I'm not suggesting that we abandon all coverage by local radio and television, but I think we have to encourage people to be a part of the process directly, and I don't know how to do that. Maybe door prizes.
Yeah, money.
I remember when I was Secretary of State at one of our national meetings talking with someone from AT&T about the emerging technology and how it might be applied to elections. And he made it very clear to us 25 or 30 years ago that we could certainly move to a vote by phone system if we wanted to. Everybody would have a PIN and there would be a login ID of some kind, and we could actually have everybody in the country make a phone call and through push buttons or voice activated systems cast their ballots. And I remember talking with my colleagues and wondering, even if the technology is available, would that be accepted? Would we be prepared to abandon the culture of the polling place and that visible indication of our democracy on a regular basis? And I think we concluded that the answer is probably no. Similarly, with a town meeting, we could certainly, through Skype or some other similar type of system, have people participate. I've participated in a lot of online meetings on GoToMeeting or some other system. We certainly could do that. I think something would be lost if I, as a moderator, were sitting in a studio as opposed to in the auditorium in Middlebury, presiding over a technological, virtual meeting.
Right.
But it's possible, and that's when I begin to think about what a town meeting might look like 50 or 100 years from now. It's not at all impossible that everyone or many people will be sitting in front of a screen participating interactively from home. So who knows what the future holds?